So most people don't speak about the mental side of getting over an injury or a serious accident as an older adult in training. Maybe one of the reasons is because most older adults don't train, but after something like this occurs, of course, the doctor gives you a physical protocol, you receive exercises, timelines, and of course, restrictions. But nobody speaks about the voice in your head that says, maybe this is it. Maybe at this age, this is just what it is now. You just have to accept that and you'll never be the same again. Unfortunately, I've been rebuilding from injuries for 3 years now. Um, I initially had a small back injury from deadlifting. I've had two ankle sprains from martial arts, a pec tear from lifting, um, and two surgeries, one including a hernia repair. That's actually from the first surgery. And now I broke my arm at 48 years old in December, so it was 6 months ago, and I'm trying to rebuild back to my pre-injury numbers. I don't like to think I'm just unlucky. It's just I've had a series of issues that have occurred, and I just want to talk about the mental battle associated with this that nobody tells you about because when this happens, you're not sure what to expect. I think when you're young, you automatically think, of course, I'm going to heal and I'm going to get back to normal. But when you're older, you're not sure what to think actually, because it seems like a normal part of society to see older adults that have had things happen to them and they're never the same afterward. So this is the lie I feel like we're told about older adults and injury. So there's a narrative that surrounds older athletes and serious injuries. You probably heard it. You may have even believed it. So it sounds like this. At your age, you have to be realistic. Your body does not heal the way it used to. You may have to modify your expectations. You may have to accept some limitations. You may never get back to where you were originally. I'm not saying that that advice is wrong all the time because sometimes there is a genuine permanent injury that causes limitations. But I think that narrative gets told way too much and too broadly and too early to people that still have everything it takes to get back to where they were originally. So when I broke my ulna, my forearm, 6 months ago, I'm 48 years old. I had already been through two surgeries, hernia repair, a pec tear, two ankle sprains in the last 3 years. So every single time somebody, a doctor, a well-meaning friend or person, someone says online that at my age I need to lower my expectations. And every single time I've come back, not because I ignored the reality of my body. I knew initially, I have to start slow. There's limitations, but I refuse to accept the ceiling that someone else is going to draw for me before I even try to push through it. So the mental battle and injury recovery is not just about getting back in the gym, even though for me that's important. It's about refusing to believe that your best days as an athlete are behind you when nobody actually knows that yet, including yourself. So there was a time where I was thinking about quitting. So I'll tell you about the time I came closest to quitting. This was not because of this broken arm, which has been the worst one yet. It was not the hernia. It was actually a back injury that I had about a year into lifting. It was very early into my journey that I was hoping, to be able to compete one day in powerlifting. So I'd not yet understood what my body was capable of at this age, especially. So I was deadlifting, not anything excessively heavy either, just a routine workout. Something went wrong. My back was in serious pain. I pushed through the rest of the workout, of course, thinking, I've been doing this for a year. There's no reason why this should cause pain. So later that day, of course, it got worse. And then you start thinking to yourself, maybe I'm too old to do this. Maybe my body is telling me something. But what I did not know then, and now what I know after building for over 3 years, is that my body is very good at healing. I just had not seen that evidence of that yet. And being an engineer, I need evidence of things. So this is one of the cruelest things about getting injured early in your lifting journey because you don't have the track record and the confidence to say to yourself that, you could get back to where you were. So you don't have that experience that you've lived already. So that you only have this injury in front of you, and the voice in your head is telling you that this might be permanent and you there might not get back to how you were. So if I had quit at that point, I would have never competed in powerlifting. I was probably deadlifting about 200 pounds then. And, I've deadlifted many times over 300 pounds at this point. Not since I broke my arm though. So I would have never been able to do that. So it took about a month, but my back healed and I came back. And everything that I've had to retrain after that has been a little easier, not physically, but mentally, because I have evidence. I know that I heal. I know I can come back again and again. So that evidence is everything. And the only way to build it is to stay in training long enough to learn what your body is capable of. So the broken arm has been the hardest mental challenge, though, because well, this injury is worse than others. It's a broken bone, but it required a lot more because I felt like after the other things, I would get back in a month or two. The pec tear took a few months, so that one wasn't instantaneous. But after I broke my arm, I felt like I had to rebuild so many times already. So I was upset that I had to do it again. So before I broke this arm, I was training to do another powerlifting competition. I was hoping to break a state record for my age group. Um, and these numbers took years to build and going through all these injuries. So after my car accident at the end of December, I was back to zero. So the hardest mental part is not the pain and it's not the frustration of the lighter weights, even though that is a little frustrating. It's kind of the uncertainty. So you don't know for certain you'll get back. So I still don't know for certain if I'm going to get back to my pre-broken arm numbers, but I'm working on it and I'm hoping. So living inside that uncertainty week after week, session after session, that I think that's a difficult part. So what I now know is it's been about 6 months since I broke this arm. I'm deadlifting just over 200, benching. This week I'm hoping to go up to a plate on each side, so 135 hopefully. And I've been squatting, staying under like 170. So, the numbers are still going up, even though the pace has been slow because there's been spurts where I've rushed it, but I don't want to continue doing that and set myself back. So I know I've been here in this position before, not with this particular injury, but with the feeling of looking up, trying to get back to those original numbers and wondering if I could just be patient enough to do it again. And so I know I will. So and you can too. So when you have a serious injury, there's something that happens that no one prepares you for. Your identity as a good, a functioning, physically healthy, athletic person, an older athlete, um, your identity gets called into question. So I felt that after I had a hernia repair. I had an ovary removal the year before. The hernia was repairing that because it actually caused it. So I had two abdominal surgeries in 2 years. So I wasn't sure how like deadlifting would affect my abdominal area because you use a lot of abdominal muscles in that. So how could I call myself a strong person if I could barely lift anything, right? So, and if I can't train, like my identity is starting to form into that, like, what, who am I if I can't train? So it sounds dramatic for me to say that, but if you've built some of your identity around your physical body, what your body can do, an injury is not just a physical setback. You start to question your identity. So if you try to separate your identity from what's happened to you, I think that makes that process easier. And so I know that what I could do right now changes with every surgery, every injury, every recovery. It goes up and down. It's not reliable, but you know, of course, I'm the same person all the way through. I show up, I rebuild. I'm not going to accept a ceiling. And this is true whether I'm deadlifting the bar, as you'll see on my channel in my first videos after my arm, or I'm deadlifting 225, hopefully more than that this week. So the injury takes the numbers temporarily, but it's not who you are unless you let it be. So what actually works mentally if you're going through an injury? What's helped me through my rebuilds is not the generic advice like stay positive, trust the process. The one and only thing that's gotten me through moments where I'm starting to have doubts is that I just visualize myself lifting normally again, not at the weight I'm currently lifting, but just at the numbers I was doing, and then beyond them. So I think about pulling 330. I think about pulling more than that. So I think about numbers I haven't hit, maybe since I was in my early 20s with my squats. So some of those numbers feel far away still right now, 6 months after my arm break. So, but this vision keeps me motivated and keeps me, working hard in the gym because I'm not training for the numbers today. I'm training for the numbers that will hopefully exist in the future. So sometimes it feels like an uphill battle, but the direction is seems to be still moving forward. So also, you don't want to keep comparing yourself to who you were before an injury. Compare yourself to who you were just like a week or two ago or a month ago. I know 4 months ago, I was struggling with 2.5 pound dumbbells after I broke my arm. And, I'm back to on most exercises to mostly what I was lifting as far as dumbbells go. Um, so progress is progress, even when it's slow, even when it's quiet, and even when there's nobody there to watch. So if you're rebuilding right now from an injury or from a surgery, from any type of setback, I just want to tell you this. The voice that says that you'll never be the same again is not telling you the truth. It's your own mind telling you a story based on fear and uncertainty, and there's no evidence of that. So the evidence comes from showing up, from hard session after hard session, from making progress. And then the week when your numbers go up slightly, that's when you know you're progressing. And that's the moment when you realize I've done this before, I've come back before, and I've rebuilt from scratch many times. So a back injury at year one, ovary removal surgery, hernia repair, ankle sprains, pec tear, and then now my broken arm. And this has all been in a span of only about 3.5 years. But I'm still here. I'm still training. I'm still going up in weight every week. And every time I've rebuilt, I went back to the same numbers. So I'm hoping soon, coming up very soon, that I'll be starting to hit those same numbers again, and then hopefully go beyond that. So please subscribe to my channel if you're rebuilding from an injury or something else. I'm documenting my process and my lifts on a weekly basis. So if you just want somebody that's also going through this with you, you can subscribe to my channel. So my name is Colleen Spiegel, and I'll see you in the next video.